and welcome back into First Strike. Here we go. We're going to break down UFC Fight Night with an Adesanya Imavov main event. And I'm here with the Apex Predators of the Octagon. If you guys are new here, this is what we do. We break down 4 fights with the crew here at Sports Money, giving you guys our best looks to beat the books and try to take advantage of CLV before we actually get to fight night itself. So appreciate you watching. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. I got MMA Jeff, Subhuman, and Fanatical Jim. Jeff, how we doing?
Oh, fantastic. Been a busy week, but looking forward to this early Saturday card. Not so excited about it being early, but I do like the Saturday earlier cards. So, I think we got 11 fights going right now. So we're currently scheduled before the weigh-ins kick off. So I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be a good one here. Fanatical Jim's back and ready to attack. Jim, how we feeling?
Feeling good, Mike. Yeah, I mean, Saudi shows. You got to love them. There's so many different ways fights can go, really based on what the judges do. So it'll be interesting to see. But anytime Adesanya main events a card, it's always must watch. So looking forward to the card, looking forward to the fights.
Well, we have not seen any judge trickery yet this season. So we'll see what this does for us this weekend here. We know the Saudis not afraid to go with their gut, if you will. But we got Subhuman Gaucho here. The Sub Club's been running hot. And he's here to join us. Sub, how you feeling, my friend? Big stream today.
Awesome, man. It was a really fun day. Thanks for everybody who could join us for Champions League and whatnot. It was awesome. And, I love these early cards. I mean, me and Jeff are maybe opposite. I'd just as soon wake up at, speaking of soccer, we're going to be watching these concurrently with some English Premier League. So that'll be a fun little wrinkle alongside all this, man. I can't wait. It's going to be a really fun Saturday morning around this East Coast of the United States.
Well, we have a big Saturday card lined up. Some cancellations, hopefully some replenishment of the stock here. But the deal is we're going to break these fights down. We're going to go one by one, talk about the best bets that we've got, a little analysis on the fly early of the week so you guys can, again, try to take advantage of these books. And Jeff's going to kick us off. And he's got a little Gasaya Peterson battle. I can't wait to hear him break it down, Jeff. The floor is yours. Talk to us about how we are getting paid.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. We've got this fun, exciting fight. In my opinion, it's a heavyweight battle with Peterson and Gaziev. Peterson's 9-2 as a pro. He killed it in the LFA, ending the LFA at 6-1. He jumps into the UFC. He loses his first fight by unanimous decision to Pose. He then came back later last year for his second fight of the year, and he wins by unanimous decision over Muhammad Usman, which he looked a lot better than he did in his first fight, in my opinion. After leaving the amateurs and regional promotions, he did seem to lose his comfortability with the striking. He was beating up these amateurs and the guys in the LFA with ground and pound knockout punches. He jumps into the UFC, and for some reason, he goes off on his own and wants to do his wrestling. Now, he is a wrestler. That's his style type of fighting, but it hasn't seemed to pan out for him too well, just sitting at 1-1 now in the UFC. Like I said, he looks like he's gotten away from the striking solely, and all he wants to do now is grapple. And when he does grapple, he doesn't really throw up submission attempts, which kind of surprises me. I think he's got one in his pro career, which again I think that came in the LFA. But you got Gaziev on the other hand. He's a bit taller. He's got a 4.5-inch reach advantage. He's 34 years old and 13-1 as a pro, and is a sizable favorite in this fight. He entered the UFC through the Dana White Contender Series with a first round rear naked choke over Velasco. He gets his first debut UFC fight finish over Bundy. He follows that up against the undefeated Rosenstruck, and he got retired in the 4th round, which his cardio looked brutal in that one. He follows that back up and bounces back with a unanimous decision win against Mays. Shows me that he potentially worked on his cardio, and he can show he can go the distance if he needs to. Gaziev also would rather be a stand-up banger as opposed to a grappler, which makes this, like I said, an interesting matchup. I see the fun aspect of this fight with Peterson wanting to grapple and Gaziev wanting to keep it on the feet. So we got a grappler versus a striker, which we talk about on the regular on the show. I think Peterson's going to go for some takedowns and essentially get stuffed in the beginning because Gaziev's not going to be worn out at that point. He's going to take Peterson's going to take some heavy shots. Peterson's going to be aware of the power and the length and the potential. This is going to potentially start out as a slow fight after the failed takedowns. Overall, I think Gaziev is more of a well-rounded fighter. and I think he's going to get it done. I didn't necessarily like the price straight up at Gaziev minus 350, 400, wherever it's sitting at now. I think it opened up at minus 400. So I'm going to take a parlay with Gaziev and the money line and over 1.5, which brings it to plus 110. Let's go Gaziev. Not too soon, though. Brings us to Sub. Sub's going with Pose and Hamdy. Sub, how are you attacking this one and getting paid?
Well, thank you, MMA Jeff. Nothing like running back a low-level MMA heavyweight fight with a low-level MMA heavyweight fight, but that's exactly what we're going to do here. Hamdy Abdel Wahab versus Jamal Pogues. This is an interesting one in some regards here. I think partly because there is so many questions about Hamdy. You watch this guy's tape and it's very limited. He's only had so many fights. I've never been awful impressed by him. I suppose his most impressive win was his only UFC fight. And it feels like it was yesterday. In fact, it was almost 3 years ago. Because after winning that fight, he got popped. Got popped for some, some naughty supplements, let's say. And we haven't seen him in quite a while. But Hamdy, really legit wrestler here. Beast of a wrestler, in fact. More of a Greco-Roman wrestler. He is from Egypt, so different style than the sort of American wrestlers that you're used to shooting in there. And a freestyle techniques and whatnot. But he is very explosive. He's very strong. Pretty thick for this weight class, even for a heavyweight. Big, strong guy. He does have some pop and some power in his hands. But honestly, his striking is pretty ugly. And, as I said, he's a pretty inexperienced guy. Now, he takes on a guy who's not especially impressive, Jamal Pogues here. I do think it's safe to say Pogues is the much better striker. He's got a good jab. The footwork is, worlds different here. It's all Pogues. And I think Pogues has gotten a lot better in recent years. You can probably kind of guess by my attitude towards these two men who I think I like here more. And it is the Pogues side. He's come down from a favorite, and we've got him at about a pick 'em. So I don't know if you need to rush to the window. Maybe he flips dog, but I've already taken a little bit of Pogues in case this does bottom out. The thing about Pogues, he's a pretty good wrestler in his own right, and plausibly the better grappler, to be honest. Not great off his back, but good get-ups. Offensively and defensively, I do think he's pretty decent. Maybe not on the level of Hamdy, but pretty darn decent. And there's some differences between these two. For one, Pogues he's actually training. This guy has a real camp. He's brought in heavyweights to work with him. He's focusing a lot on his takedown defense. That's going to be big here. He's pretty good out of the clinch. He does the right thing. So I don't think he just gets bullied and held up against the fence for 15 minutes here. He has boxing coaches. Hamdy has a good check left. Outside of that, a bit of power. Anybody can get knocked out of this weight class. I think his striking is pretty ugly. Pogues spending time at the UFC PI. I'm almost always bullish when fighters are spending a lot of time with the UFC, at their home base there in Vegas. He does live in Vegas. And so I'm going to be with Pogues here. There's some worries. Hamdy is an Egyptian. Judge Fuckery's got to be on his side. Let's just face it. But Hamdy's one win, as I was saying. It was one UFC win, I should say, although he doesn't have any impressive wins outside of the UFC period. He has a few fights outside of the UFC. No, that was overturned for his cocktail of who knows what. Since then, he tried to come back. He got hit again. Tried to come back. He gets another violation for God knows what. So he hasn't fought for a while. He's going to come in pretty rusty. And even if Hamdy fixes his cardio issues, which is a big question, he's had them for, his whole brief career. I think he's going to have trouble getting Pogues down. I think the longer this stays on the feet, the worse it's going to be for Hamdy. I like Pogues here at minus 105. These two have fought close, but I think if somebody pulls away, it's going to be Pogues. And, in the end, I have to be with them. I also like the round 3 pokes. I don't trust Hamdy's cardio with or without the drugs. So give me pokes here. Give me a little bit of sprinkle on that round 3. I'll look to get in live on the round 3 too. I think there's an outside chance pokes can get him out of here, but yeah, I do think there's a good chance he gets us to the window. Should be the rightful favorite, and we're all with the American here on his trip to Saudi Arabia. All that said, we've got we've got Mike breaking down the main event of the evening. It's a fight that I've got some interest in. We're going to find out just how good Imavov is, and we're going to find out whether or not Izzy can find his way back into title contention. What are you going to do here, Mike?
All right, Sub, thanks for the lead in. And yeah, this is a rarity for me talking about the main event. Before we get on those live streams, you can catch us live. Of course, Saturday morning we'll pop off at 9 a.m. But boy, oh boy, we've got Adesanya. And what's everybody talking about? It's the first fight in 6 years he hasn't fought for a belt. My goodness, the reason that is because he gets a lot of rematches. He's a fun guy. There's certainly a lot to be said for it. He does like to stand and bang and throw those fists out there, find that space and get it done. But he's an aging fighter. And on the other side of things, Nasruddin Imavov is going to come out. In fact, he's got 3 in a row under his belt. And some decisions, of course, but the Frenchman at 6'3" is 7 years the younger. There were so many spots I wanted to look at. It's hard for me not to get involved with this one, specifically early, because, I like the co-main main event factor. If the dog wins the co-main, the favorite wins the main. If the favorite wins the co-main, the dog wins the main itself. And normally I like to see how that plays out, but I don't see, and we'll talk with our guy next about this co-main event. In this case, though, we've got Adesanya coming back. Everyone talking about how it's the first fight since and yada, yada, yada. At the end of the day, for me, I'm looking at Imavov and I'm thinking, hey, look, both these guys had some Strickland battles. Strickland busted up Adesanya. Yeah, it was a short notice fight when we saw Imavov come in there and take on Strickland, but it was close. He almost beat him. In fact, some of the cards might say he did have him out there. You look at these guys, and these are 2 fighters passing each other in the night. It's a situation where Adesanya is on the elder side of his career, Wicks at 7 years, the senior. On the flip side of things here, Imavov comes in 7-2. He's won 3 fights in a row, as I mentioned. There's so many things I got to look at. First of all, let's talk about the spread. This thing opened up as a wide dog. It's starting to come in, and that's why we're here. We want to get advantage of this plus money spot now. Second, we've got a situation where we look at these dogs, the younger fighters. When they've got 7+ years youth, the fountain of youth on their side, they're winning over 67% of the time in the UFC. The diminishing skills that Adesanya has are that of a stand and banger, and that does go away. The situation here, I think, is there's a lot of emotion behind Adesanya. He wants to get back out there and show that he potentially can get another title fight or another shot at the title. And on the other side of things here, the last style bender certainly can go out there and get himself in the win column and potentially line himself up to go out there and battle for the middleweight division. There's a lot of motivation. There's a lot of emotion. And Adesanya's been hearing it all week. This is your first fight after 6 years of the title, blah, 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 blah. I think that's a disservice for Adesanya here. I think what happens is this emotion is going to run high. He's going to probably get himself out there and do something stupid. Now, what I do envision is we see the Frenchman push him up against the cage, kind of get some time out there, shoot a few takedowns. He should be wrestling. His game plan should be to go out there and wrestle. But I think this guy gets the job. He gets the dub, and we got a plus 145 price tag for it. Adesanya's going to wear down, do something stupid. I don't think this thing even goes the distance. I think there's a lot of ways to go out there and attack ourselves with Imavov. But I'm going to take the money line at plus 145, and you got to get it now because this line is moving. You don't want to miss it. He could very well be a plus 125 or even close to a pick 'em by the time fight night goes out at it. So that being said, I'm going to bring it over to my friend Fanatical Jim. He's ready to break it down for us. He's got the co-main event, a real treat here with First Strike, the main event, the co-main. Lots of fun, lots of action, but we're going to hear how Fanatical Jim's going to get paid. Share a bullet, MVP, Fanatical Jim.
Thanks, Mike. And yeah, this is a great fight. It's, what I would preface this whole breakdown with is actually go back 3 months ago to the first strike video, UFC 308. It was end of October-ish. I broke down Shara 3 months ago. I gave some of the reasons why I liked him back then against Armin Petrosian. A lot of it had to do with the judges, and I'm not going to get into it on this breakdown, but go ahead and listen to it because it will be in play potentially for this fight as well on how the judges usually score Shara. So go ahead and watch that. With this fight, Shara is a very polarizing fighter, where I feel like with MMA betting, the betting public, I guess, there's two schools of thought, right? You either believe in Shara and you think that he is good, he's a prospect, he's progressing. He's obviously a Muay Thai world champion for Russia, and you're on him. You bet on him, like me. I bet on him, and I win. Or you're on the other side, where you think he's a fraud, you think he'll eventually get humbled and chin-checked, and you're betting against him, and you're taking the dog money, and you're losing, but you're wanting to chase that dog money, and you continue to believe and you have your convictions that Shara is just not good, and eventually it'll happen, and it's Michael Page, so it's going to happen, right? So for me, in this fight, I look at a guy like Michael Page. He's a 37-year-old boxer, kickboxer at this point. Not really UFC. If you think about a guy like Michael Page, right, and guys like Michael Chandler, Kayla Harrison, Chris Cyborg, does UFC come to your mind first, or does Bellator? Right? These guys are outsiders. They've always been treated like outsiders. The women are a little bit different in terms of success, but Michael Chandler's 2-4. Michael Page is 1-1, but he beat Kevin Holland. It didn't look great in the fight. They kind of have a style that works for promotions that are a little bit lesser than UFC, but when they come to the UFC, they kind of get exposed a bit. And I think with Michael Page, he's fast. He has good accuracy, but his volume is just god awful. Like he'll throw a minimal amount of volume possible just to get a win by points. It seems like. The other problem I have with Michael Page in this fight, there's actually two issues. It came out with an interview a week ago. So Michael Page basically said that he's going to be ready for Shara's takedowns. And when I heard that, I had to pause it. I'm like, wait a minute, Shara's takedowns. I had to go back. Shara hasn't attempted one takedown in the UFC. So I'm like, is MVP thinking that Shara is like his last name is Magomedov, so he's just going to take you down? Like, has he watched Shara fight? So that was my first thing. I'm like, what is he talking about? Then the second thing is, so he's moving up in weight in this fight. He's normally a welterweight. He's moving to 185, so he's gaining 15 pounds. And he gives an interview where it's like, this is a one-time deal. I'm fighting at 185. It's a one-time deal. All right, so my conspiracy theory hat goes on. It's like, well, wait a minute. One-time deal. You're fighting in Saudi Arabia. You're fighting Shara Bullet, the undefeated Shara Bullet. You're a striker, and we know Shara's weaknesses is grapplers. So were you just handpicked by a matchmaker for this fight so Shara can get a win again on another progressive, I guess from a level perspective, opponent? That's how it came off. Now, he did give an interview today where he walked both of those statements back and basically said that he's going to make Shara take him down, which, come on. And then, I was always going to fight at 185, but I want to be the welterweight champ. I want to face, Bilal. And it's like, all right, is your head even in this damn fight? Have you even watched anything? And then he's talking about he doesn't have to cut weight. He's like, he's so excited about, he has to cut a little bit, but not too much. Okay, well, if that's the case, then he's not putting on muscle, right? This is not 15 pounds of muscle that he's keeping. So I am not, I was really not a Page guy. In this fight, I'm definitely not a Page guy. I've mentioned before about Shara that when you see a main event or co-main event like this with Shara Bullet and a main event with Israel Adesanya in Saudi Arabia, this is probably the biggest fight of the year for them. Izzy is a celebrity in Saudi Arabia. He's there all the time. He was there for the Tyson Fury fight. And Shara, I think I broke it down in the video I told you about earlier in this breakdown. I compared him to Hulk Hogan because that's what he is in the Middle East. And if you're going to have your Hulk Hogan lose, then you want that the person that beat him to be like the Iron Sheik or be like the big heel, right? That can turn into something. Is that 37-year-old Michael Page? Like, what happens when Michael Page wins? What do? Oh, well, it was a one-time deal at 185, but we're going to put him back down to 170, and maybe he'll verse the loser of Madalena and Leon Edwards. Oh, perfect. That's great. Now you have a one-loss fighter who's super popular and is a big draw in the Middle East. He got his loss. His aura's gone. It's a no-win situation for the UFC. They want Shara to win. It goes to the scorecards. He will win. I think there's an opportunity here. He knocks out Michael Page because I don't think Michael Page has seen the type of Muay Thai he's going to see in this fight. So I'm on Shara here. I'm on Shara and round 2 to start. Now, what I'll say about this parlay is I was trying to cut the juice down a little bit. Obviously, this line is creeping up for Shara. It was minus 170 earlier, and we're taping this on a Wednesday. Earlier in the day, it's moved up to almost minus 200 on some books. So you can find this as a minus 135 on FanDuel. You can find this as a minus 120 on DraftKings. These lines are releasing just now. Minus 125, I believe, on Fanatic. So line shop this if you want it. I have round 2 to start. As I mentioned earlier, I am not comfortable and I got burned on the last tape. I had Shara by decision against Petrosian. Obviously, we saw that wicked knockout in the second round. So I do not want to get burned by that again. And I think if Shara can start landing on Page, she can hurt Page. Page has been knocked out before in Bellator, and against a similar fighter, by the way. He was knocked out. His legs got chopped up, and it could happen in this fight because Shara loves the leg kicks, and he eventually fell down, and that was it. He just got beaten up. So I think that could happen here. Probably when we do this breakdown on Saturday, I'm going to have some Shara round 2, round 3 knockout props. But for the purpose of this tape, I'm on Shara. I'm on him to win. I'm on the fight to go at least to the second round. I think they'll be able to, at least land go through a round and test each other out and fight from distance. But ultimately, I think Shara gets his hand raised. He stays undefeated. And Michael Page will probably get paid a lot of money for taking this fight. He'll probably get some more fights added to his contract for doing this, and he'll be happily ever after, and everybody gets what they want. So give me Shara. It aligns with what Mike said in terms of that opposite correlation with the main event underdog and the co-main favorite, and FanDuel's offering the worst line on this. So that's also a theory that people have with that book. So once again, Shara round 2 to start at minus 135. So with that being said, Mike, why don't we do the recap and wrap this thing up?
Great work, gentlemen. As always, you guys come in ready to roll. These are some great lines. You guys, appreciate you spending time watching the video. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and join us Saturday, 9 a.m. We're going to pop off. Going to do the live stream. We'll give you the early breakdown. We'll follow it back up with the full companion show. Don't miss out. Make sure we see you guys there. Appreciate everyone. Thanks for your time.